People are always asking me what the worst part of tiny house living is, and I feel like it's sort of like if you shop on Amazon and you're choosing between a product that has some bad reviews and a product that has no reviews, you're gonna go with the product that has some bad reviews because at least you know what those are. Some of you are inspired by the way that I live, but you still always want to know what the worst part of it is so that you can take that into consideration when you decide if this lifestyle is for you. Lucky for you, this is my very worst case scenario playing out right now. Hey guys, welcome back to the Trailhead. My name is Jen and this is my not so tiny house, which has not had running water in about 3 weeks. I had intended for my very first video of this year to be about my new routines and wellness habits, but this is the content my tiny house has decided to give me, so we're just gonna roll with it. If you watched my recent winterizing video, you saw all the things I do to keep water flowing in the tiny house all winter long. And when I made that video, I truly thought I had cracked the code on all of my systems. And then winter actually set in and I woke up to this. Water spewing from the front of my house at that connection point. At this point, I feel like I could truly write the troubleshooting guide for this hose because what else could possibly go wrong? So I got in touch with Camco, who has excellent customer service, as I've mentioned, and they said they would get a replacement hose in the mail. In my experience, that replacement hose they send usually doesn't even leave their warehouse for almost 2 weeks. For that reason, I always have a backup hose ready to go. So I got that hooked up and 7 days later, the polar vortex hit. It got down to -19 one night. Needless to say, the backup hose did not survive that situation, even though it is rated to -20. Because I'm an optimist, I immediately started brainstorming and I already think I have a really good solution in place. I'd show you what that idea is, but I don't even have a hose to demonstrate. So instead, I thought I would walk you through what my life actually looks like in the tiny house with no water. I'm here to tell you that when the water gets shut off in the tiny house, it feels like my life gets shut off. And it can really take a toll on my mental health. If you're familiar with my story, you know that I restarted my life after my marriage of 18 years ended. And I would love to tell you that I immediately knew exactly what to do. But the truth is, I was completely overwhelmed with which direction to go to find affordable housing and a better paying job and what made me happy after 18 years of being in a relationship. Honestly, I'm still working through those issues 5 years later. So when something like this happens and my water gets shut off, it's one more thing on top of the pile of things that I'm trying to manage. In times like this, I cannot stress enough how much talk therapy has helped me to work through some of the issues that make me feel totally stuck and like I cannot move forward. If you're going through big life change and you feel like you don't know where to start, I highly recommend BetterHelp, who is the sponsor of this video. BetterHelp makes starting therapy easier and less intimidating for a lot of people. With BetterHelp, you can have a therapy session through a phone call, a video chat, or even through messaging if that's what's more comfortable for you. BetterHelp can match you to one of over 30,000 therapists in their network based on your individual needs, preferences, and location, which gives you access to a wider range of expertise than what might be available in your city. To get started, you fill out a questionnaire that will ask you questions about what you're going through and what kind of therapist you'd like. In most cases, BetterHelp will match you with a therapist within 48 hours. If you feel like your therapist isn't a great fit, but you don't want to go through that awkward breakup, don't worry. You can easily change therapists with a click of a button at no additional cost. Join over 4 million people who've used BetterHelp to start living a healthier, happier life. Click the link in my description or visit betterhelp.com/trailheadtiny. Clicking on that link helps to support my channel, and it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp, so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. And So if you're on the fence about tiny house living and you're like, just show us already the worst case scenario, this is it. It's happening now. I'm not cooking as much as I want to because I don't have water to clean dishes and my kitchen when I'm done. I'm avoiding going to the trail and hiking or running, which is like my absolute favorite thing and the way I relieve stress this time of year, and haven't even been doing indoor workouts because I can't shower when I'm done. Not to mention, when my kids find out that I don't have running water, they tend to not visit me because A, I'm not really cooking anything, and B, they know I get in a really crummy mood when I don't have water. Because I've been through this so many times, I also have a few preventative things I do so that I'm ready when the water gets shut off and I'm not completely unable to function. If I at least have a backup plan and have what I need to keep functioning when the water gets shut off, I feel a lot better about the whole thing. So let's just jump in. First and foremost, I try to keep my tiny house tidy and stay on top of any water chores. At the top of that list is never leaving dirty dishes in the sink. I speak from experience when I say there is nothing worse than waking up to no running water and a sink full of dirty dishes that I was too lazy or tired to deal with the night before, and now I'm stuck staring at them, sometimes for days, until I have water again. Second, I try to do a small load of laundry every day so that my little basket of laundry isn't piled up or overflowing. If my dirty clothes hamper is full, I'll end up with piles of clothes sitting on my storage stairs or just piled up in front of the washer, and that makes me crazy. So I just try to prepare so that doesn't happen. And third, I typically don't shower every single night, especially in the winter, but I do try to slip one in more often than usual just because I never know if the next morning is gonna be the day I don't get a shower. So those are the big water chores at the top of the list. The next thing I do is to make sure I have a backup water supply always ready to go in the house. I fill my Berkey water filter every night before I go to bed. This is my main source of drinking water. It holds about 2.5 gallons, and so as long as that's full, I have water for a few days for my tea or coffee or oatmeal or any kind of food that I might add water to. I also have a couple of water dispensers that I fill and I keep on standby all winter inside the tiny house, which is another reason I'm glad I have a little bit of extra space because they take up space. They each hold about 2.5 gallons of water. I keep one by my kitchen sink and one by my bathroom sink so I can still wash my hands, brush my teeth, rinse things off, and keep things clean around the house as best I can. One small habit I started without running water that I still do every day even when I do have running water is to warm up water in a mug so that I can clean my face. Yes, I am aware of the cold plunge trend, and I've seen everyone on Instagram waking up and sticking their face in a bowl of ice cold water. It's just not for me. I prefer to start my day and end my day washing my face with warm water. Also, when it's cold and dry and staticky in the tiny house, it just feels good to have a little steam on my face. Even with my on-demand water heater, I have to run the water for a bit until it heats up, and it is so wasteful. And so I kept my mug of hot water habit in the morning and the evening because it's saving water. And unfortunately, the mug trick is also how I have a little daily DIY shower, if you will, when I'm not able to run to a friend's house to take one. It's not ideal, but this is how things go in my worst case scenario. I also mentioned that I don't really cook when I'm without water. There are a few things I do as a preventative tactic to make sure I can still stay up and running. One is that I always have a stash of disposable plates and bowls and utensils. I'm not a huge fan of anything disposable, but this keeps me sane when I'm going for 3 weeks now without running water. This prevents a pileup of dirty dishes and clutter in my space, and it just mentally makes me feel better. And the last thing I do is always have some ideas of what kind of meal I could have ready to prepare. One meal that's always my backup through the winter is this tortilla soup recipe that literally is just like 7 cans of tomatoes and beans and some spices. All I have to do is open them and mix them all together, and I've got a super easy meal ready to go that will last 3 to 4 days when it's just me. But one of my favorite make-ahead winter meals are these mason jar noodles. They're a perfect healthy meal that also is just nice on a cold winter night, especially when you get home and you're tired and you just want to grab something and have it ready to eat. My kids also love these, and they're fairly inexpensive to put together. I've seen a few different versions of these out there, but this is how I like to make mine. I mentioned that I'm not hitting the trail or even doing indoor workouts, at least not super sweaty ones because I can't shower, but I really need some kind of movement to keep from shutting down mentally. So lately I've been pulling out my FeetUp trainer. I bought it for inversions, but I actually love to do yoga with it. I have a couple of FeetUp trainer yoga videos that I love to do, so I'm gonna link to those below. I would tell you the name of the channel, but I don't remember. And so this is my very worst case scenario. I hope that it helps you in whatever stage you are of figuring out if you could really live tiny. I would encourage you to really think about where you're gonna park your tiny house and what the worst possible event could possibly be so that you're prepared mentally and you're also prepared physically with anything that you need to survive. I would love to know what you thought, so please take a second and head down and leave any comments or questions that you have. Also, if you have another idea to prepare for a waterless event, I would love to know what that is, even though I desperately hope that I don't have another event. It's still good to be prepared. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next episode when I hopefully have water again.